You've walked past them, seen them in movies, even used them as your phone wallpaper. But I guarantee you don't know the full story behind Malaysia's most iconic landmark. The Petronas Twin Towers aren't just tall buildings. They're a calculated gamble that almost bankrupted the country, an engineering nightmare that defied every expert, and a secret rivalry that changed construction forever. Quick thing before we continue. I'm trying something here. Most Malaysian stories get buried under international content, but I think our stories matter just as much. If you're vibing with this right now, just tap that subscribe button. Let's build something together. Show that Malaysian content can actually reach people who care. Assalamu alaikum. Here's what most people miss. When you look at the Twin Towers, you're actually looking at the result of the most intense construction race in human history. But here's the kicker. It wasn't Malaysia racing against time. It was two separate companies racing against each other, and the Malaysian government deliberately set it up that way. Let me take you back to 1991. Malaysia was booming. Dr. Mahathir wanted a symbol that would announce to the world that we'd arrived. Not just any building. The tallest in the world. But there was a problem. Nobody believed Malaysia could pull it off. We'd never built anything close to this scale. Foreign investors were skeptical. So Mahathir made a brilliant, ruthless decision. He split the contract between a Japanese consortium and a South Korean consortium. Tower 1 went to Hazama Corporation from Japan. Tower 2 went to Samsung Engineering and Construction from South Korea. Sound familiar? That competitive fire we Malaysians know so well? Mahathir weaponized it on a global scale. The Japanese team started on Tower 1. The Korean team started on Tower 2. Same blueprints. Same timeline. Same specifications. But here's where it gets interesting. The contract had a clause that nobody talks about. Whichever team finished first would get bragging rights and preferential consideration for future mega projects in Asia. The stakes weren't just professional pride. We're talking billions in future revenue. Now you're probably thinking this sounds like a recipe for disaster. You'd be right. Within months, problems started erupting. The Japanese team, known for precision and methodical planning, was falling behind. Why? They refused to cut corners. Every measurement triple-checked. Every material tested beyond requirements. Classic Japanese work culture translated to construction. Meanwhile, the Korean team was blazing ahead. Faster concrete pours. Aggressive scheduling. Working through nights and weekends. Tower 2 started rising faster than Tower 1. But wait until you hear what happened next. At 72 floors, inspectors discovered something terrifying on Tower 1. The building was leaning. Not dramatically, but enough to fail tolerances. 1.8 centimeters off vertical. Doesn't sound like much, right? When you're building the tallest structure in the world, 1.8 centimeters at floor 72 becomes catastrophic at floor 88. The Japanese team had to stop everything. They brought in soil engineers, structural experts, even seismologists. Turns out, Kuala Lumpur's limestone bedrock is unpredictable. Pockets and caves underneath create uneven settling. The Japanese had hit a weak spot. Here's the thing nobody tells you about the Twin Towers. They're not actually identical twins. Tower 1's foundation goes deeper because of this correction. 3 extra meters of piling that most visitors will never know exists. The Japanese team spent 6 weeks fixing the lean. Expensive. Humiliating. But necessary. During those 6 weeks, the Korean team on Tower 2 pulled so far ahead that people started betting Tower 1 would never catch up. The rivalry became personal. Workers on both towers could see each other. They'd wave, taunt, compete. The Japanese foreman banned his team from even looking at Tower 2. Total focus on their own work. The Korean team did the opposite. They mounted a scoreboard showing their floor count versus Tower 1. Psychological warfare through construction. Then the Malaysian government did something unexpected. They announced both towers had to finish simultaneously. Not approximately. Exactly. Same day, same ceremony. This changed everything. Suddenly, the race wasn't about finishing first. It was about coordination, communication, and swallowing pride. Picture this. You're on the Korean team. You've worked brutal hours to get ahead. Now you're being told to slow down and wait for your competitor. The resentment was real, but the contract was clear. Penalties for early completion were just as severe as penalties for delays. Malaysia wanted symmetry, visual and symbolic. But here's where Malaysian ingenuity comes in. The architect, Cesar Pelli, wasn't Malaysian. The contractors weren't Malaysian. But the project manager who had to make these rivals cooperate? Malaysian through and through. His name was Mirzan Mahathir, Dr. Mahathir's son, working under the project's executive chairman. He implemented something called joint problem-solving sessions, forced the Japanese and Korean teams into the same room weekly, made them share solutions. At first it was hostile, arms crossed, minimal communication. Then something shifted. The Korean team discovered a faster way to pour the high-strength concrete needed for the upper floors. Normally, they'd keep this proprietary. Instead, they shared it with the Japanese team. Why? Because if Tower 1 fell further behind, both projects would miss the synchronization deadline and both would face penalties. The Japanese team returned the favor. They'd developed a superior curtain wall installation technique that reduced weather delays. Shared it freely. Competition transformed into collaboration. Not because anyone suddenly became friends, but because the incentive structure forced it. This is the part that gives me chills. By floor 80, both towers were rising in perfect synchronization. Same floor count, same completion percentage, same material stockpiles. From the ground, watching both towers grow at identical rates looked like CGI. But it was real. Two rival companies, two proud nations, building as one. Let's talk about the Islamic design elements, because this is where Malaysian identity really shines through. The floor plan isn't rectangular. It's based on two interlocking squares, rotated 45 degrees, creating an 8-pointed star. This isn't just aesthetic. In Islamic geometry, the 8-pointed star represents unity, balance, and the infinite. Every single floor, from the basement to the pinnacle, follows this pattern. 88 floors of geometric perfection. When you're inside, you might not consciously notice it. But the space feels different. More harmonious. That's intentional design rooted in cultural mathematics. The sky bridge connecting the towers at levels 41 and 42 has its own wild story. It's not rigidly attached. It floats on hydraulic buffers. Why? Because both towers sway. In strong winds, they can move up to 90 centimeters at the top. If the sky bridge was fixed, the building movements would tear it apart. So Malaysian engineers designed it to slide, like a ship on gentle waves. You can walk across during a storm and never feel it, but that bridge is dancing between two moving towers. Ever notice that the towers look different colors depending on the time of day? That's not your imagination. The stainless steel and glass facade was specifically chosen to reflect Malaysia's tropical light. Morning sun gives them a warm golden glow. Afternoon heat turns them almost white. Evening light makes them look silver blue. It's a RM400 million skin that acts like a giant mood ring for Kuala Lumpur's weather. Now here's something you definitely didn't know. There's a secret floor. Well, not secret exactly, but not accessible to the public and not counted in the official 88 floors. It's called the mechanical floor, hidden between levels 43 and 44. This is where all the serious infrastructure lives. HVAC systems powerful enough to cool a small town. electrical transformers the size of trucks, water pumps that move 550,000 liters daily, and emergency generators that could power both towers independently for 72 hours. This hidden floor is why the towers can survive anything. Flood, power grid failure. Even controlled demolition wouldn't bring them down easily because the core structure is reinforced beyond any normal skyscraper. The foundation goes 120 meters deep. That's deeper than the towers are wide at the base. Why so deep? Remember that unpredictable limestone? Engineers drove 104 concrete piles for each tower, reaching down to bedrock. Some of these piles hit caves and had to be redirected. Others hit underground rivers. The foundation alone took 13 months and used more concrete than most entire buildings. You're standing on top of an inverted skyscraper every time you visit. Let's address the elephant in the room. Are the Petronas Towers still the tallest in the world? No, they lost that title in 2004 to Taipei 101. But here's the thing. They're still the tallest twin towers, and they remain the tallest buildings with a sky bridge. Malaysia didn't just build tall, we built smart. The towers generate their own economy. Over 10,000 people work inside daily. The complex includes a concert hall, an art gallery, a science museum, and a park. It's a vertical city, not just an office building. The cost? Official figures say $1.6 billion, but real estimates including infrastructure, land acquisition, and financing probably pushed it past $4 billion. In 1998, during the Asian financial crisis, people called it Mahathir's folly, questioned whether Malaysia needed such extravagance during economic uncertainty. Today, tourism revenue alone has paid back the investment several times over. The towers attract 1.7 million visitors annually, each one spending money in Malaysian shops, hotels, and restaurants. But the real value isn't financial, it's psychological. Before the Twin Towers, Malaysia was known for tin, rubber, and beaches. After the Twin Towers, we became known for ambition, engineering, and modernity. That shift in global perception opened doors for Malaysian companies, attracted foreign investment, and gave young Malaysians something to point at with pride. You can't put a price tag on national confidence. Here's my favorite detail. The pinnacles on top aren't just decorative. They're functional lightning rods, but they're also designed to eventually support telecommunications equipment. Future-proofing built into the architecture. Malaysian planners thinking decades ahead. Those pinnacles add 73.5 meters to the height, which is why some argue about whether the towers truly beat Chicago's Willis Tower. The debate misses the point. Malaysia built something iconic when the world said the construction finished exactly on time. August 1996. Both towers topped out simultaneously in a ceremony that brought Kuala Lumpur to a standstill. The Japanese and Korean teams stood together, shook hands, took a group photo that hangs in the building's history gallery. Rivals who became reluctant partners, then unexpected friends. That handshake represented more than two companies. It symbolized Asian cooperation, technological achievement, and Malaysia's arrival on the world stage. When the towers officially opened in 1999, Dr. Mahathir gave a speech that still resonates. He said Malaysia didn't build the towers to compete with the West. We built them to prove to ourselves what we're capable of. To show Malaysian children that their country could dream big and deliver bigger. Every school kid who draws those twin towers in art class, every couple who gets engaged with them in the background, every tourist who gasps seeing them for the first time, they're all part of that legacy. So next time you see the Petronas Twin Towers, remember this. You're not just looking at steel and glass. You're looking at a gamble that paid off, a rivalry that built friendship, and a nation that refused to think small. Those towers represent the Malaysia that could have been just another developing country, but chose to be extraordinary instead. If this story changed how you see those towers, hit that like button. Subscribe because I've got more Malaysian stories that deserve to be heard. And drop a comment telling me which Malaysian landmark I should investigate next. The Twin Towers were just the beginning of our journey into the hidden stories that make Malaysia incredible. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep looking up.